Yeah, but we don't always understand it.
No. And that's, before we get into the question, something I just wanted to say for the sake of everyone is you got to rely on who's on the inside of you, because us in our own human self, we're going to get things wrong. So always address things with an open mind and with the intention to find truth, because if we approach it that way, then we're always willing to learn as we go along, and what we know today might not be what we know tomorrow, and someone will give us another truth or more information somewhere that will help us expand the truth that we thought we understood. And so that's always my perspective, is to share the truth I know today and let Yahweh bring out the rest of the truth as we go along.
Yep. Facts change. Facts change. And when you know truth, your facts will change.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And why don't you define that, just so we can include that in this video as well, because people think facts are truth and truth are facts.
Facts are the current situation or what you see. Truth is the same for everyone, everywhere, all the time, meaning the truth never changes. And that's where people get into mistakes. If they think, if they replace facts for truth, the facts can change, so the truth changes, and then people get into this all truth, or my truth, or your truth, or their truth. No, there's only one truth, and that's the truth of Yahweh. The facts of the situation can change because the situation can change over time.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that's really important for us to understand, because we might not understand all truth when we're talking about something, and we might have facts that are getting in the way.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to keep our mind open to getting to the point of the truth of what Yahweh is actually trying to tell us, because everyone's interpreting the scripture in the way they think they understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not necessarily the way Yahweh wanted us to understand it.
That is true. Yeah, especially when they use the wrong word for some of the words. And
right.
When you go to the Strongs, then you see that the word that they used was not the best choice. And an example of that, the easiest one, is faith. In most cases, faith translates to truth. So when YHWH said the truth will set you free, it's because when you have truth, it's easy to believe what YHWH is saying, rather than faith, believing that you're going to be healed because you have faith or you have belief. It was actually truth. Once you know the truth of the situation, you're like, oh, it can be no other way. And that's a little bit confusing, because it gets into an area where people don't understand. They're believing, they're thinking they got to believe for like a healing, but in all actuality, you're not believing for a healing. You know the truth of the situation, meaning a demon's poking you or a demon's afflicting you. And once you know that it's a demon, then you could say, oh, I don't need healing, I need deliverance. And the truth had just set you free, because now you know you just have to come out of agreement with that demon and cast it out. And then your dis-ease will go.
Right. So we'll get into that more later. So let's pause that there, because I think that plays into some of the questions that Hannah has.
Mm-hmm.
And, just to finish the thought of what you're talking about with words, is even the words that we use, we think we're saying one thing and they're not always as clear as they are. Just like, as I was saying, understanding would mean no sanding.
Mm-hmm.
If we actually pulled out the etymology of the word. And so that isn't the same connotation as gaining knowledge.
Yes.
Which is what we're trying to talk about, is gaining knowledge. But most of us know it as understanding.
Yeah.
And so that's where we have this difference between facts and truth, even within the words themselves.
Yep.
So I just say that because we'll try to articulate some of the things in the answers to express what we we are gleaning from what Yahweh is saying. But there might be words that we have yet to learn of what they should actually be versus what it looks like. So,
well, isn't that like we were talking before we started recording, is why you should read different versions of the book, like different versions, so you can get better understanding of what it's trying to say.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we don't stick to one version of the Bible because it is very hard to comprehend the text with only one version.
Yeah. And a lot of times people translate based on their knowledge or their beliefs. So some of the translations have some of the beliefs in the words they use being translated into the Bible. If you don't read multiple versions, you're going to get the view of that one person that translated that particular passage, the religious view of that person. So there can be a little bit of skewing going on in that way too.
And we have another guest who wants to chime in and add something here.
I'll just say to you something to say, okay?
Can you come a little closer so we can get it recorded?
Well, when you're talking about different versions of Scripture, that's where my view of that is that of what Scripture says. That's the relationship of what Scripture says to search the Scriptures. That's why this house searches the Scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you couldn't see him in the video, but that's Stephen that's speaking, that has done a lot of word studies on Scripture and following the etymology of the Scripture back to the source as much as we can get. Is that a good way to describe it?
And I have plenty of Scriptures.
Plenty of scriptures, plenty of Bibles, plenty of dictionaries. A house full of dictionaries.
It's pretty amazing what he comes up with, because he actually goes back to the original word, the original, is it Sanskrit or is it pictographic meaning for the word that was used.
The picture is a one-word identity, okay? And that's the relationship of a function.
Yes.
Can you hear him okay, Hannah? Okay, great.
Okay.
Right.
All I got to say.
Perfect.